Hello everyone, I just thought I'd come on and do a video about UFOs. Now, this is a subject that has fascinated me for a very long time. I'm now 65 years of age and I've been aware of UFOs since a young child. And I don't know why, because my parents weren't into anything like that. I didn't have anybody around me. Perhaps there was something on television I saw when I was young that ignited this for me, but I was always fascinated by them. And my earliest memories of thinking about celestial beings, or aliens if you wish to call them that, is when I went to Sunday school and I used to look up at Jesus on the cross, or pictures of Jesus, and I used to think, he's an alien, he comes from space. And where did that come from? Did it come from some inner knowing in me? There's something in me from far, far back, not in this lifetime, that I identified with UFOs. Well, now they call them UAPs, don't they? Unidentified anomalous phenomena. The government's decided to change their names. And there's a reason for this, my guides tell me, is that UFOs in the old-fashioned way were portrayed, say, in the 50s, 60s, 70s as metal discs flying across the sky. But as our technology has got better and our governments have had the privilege of meeting some celestial beings, even though that is well hidden from us, and they really didn't like it very much, the celestial beings, with the attitude of the earthlings. And the secret governments, parts of the government that research UFOs and celestial beings, have decided that they're not just discs that fly across, appear every now and again. There's all types of celestial space travel. There's energy portals that appear on Earth. There's portals they can walk through and walk among us. And I've actually got one very close to me, and I've actually experienced that as well. So that's pretty amazing. I should tell you about that. So flying UFOs, all these anomalies that appear, my first experience of visually seeing one with my own eyes is when I was 18. It was in 1978. I lived in Loughborough. I lived opposite some fields, and my walkway to where I needed to go into town was at the end of the road. So I used to walk along, and I was just walking along like you do. I didn't have a mobile phone back then, and I was absolutely observed more around you. And sort of walking along with the tech in front of you. And I looked up at the sky, and it was just getting the light was just dropping a bit, early evening type of light. And I saw a flashing light, or a pulsating light, moving in the distance above the tree line, because I was near Bradgate Park. And I thought, oh, it's an aeroplane. I couldn't hear any noise, and I thought, oh, silent aeroplane, okay. And then something sort of made me keep watching it, which I now know, of course, was my guides. And as I watched this light move, it suddenly stopped. And I just thought, that's really strange. And then you think, well, is it the angle I'm looking at it, or is it moving back in a different direction? I thought it was an aeroplane. And I knew it wasn't a helicopter because I couldn't hear any noise. I couldn't hear any aeroplane noise. And then all of a sudden, this object darted around in the space it was in. And that thing really got my attention. And I stood there, and this is probably only a couple of minutes. This isn't, I didn't stand there for like half an hour. And then I saw what I thought was a change of colour in the lighting of it. And then it sort of moved up and stopped again. And I knew then this wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a balloon on the wind or anything. So it wouldn't behave like that. And then it just suddenly went up and disappeared. And I just stood there and went, oh my God, I've just seen a UFO. But I couldn't quite take it in. I knew I wandered off, went to do what I was going to do. And a couple of days later in the paper, there was articles about people seeing UFOs. I actually researched it again the other day, and I did find the article, because you sometimes, as you move through life, think, did I imagine that? So that was my first phenomenon with them, as in the physical, in the presence of the 3D reality. I carried on being interested. I read books about UFOs, I watched programs about UFOs. And as I progressed through my life, I didn't really overthink what they were, these anomalies that happen. And then I became a channeler from the celestial beings, which some of you think of as aliens, to channel their knowledge through my books. And in the book, it's just the journey through creation, which is part of a trilogy of 3 around a planet called Dakar that actually exists. One of my guides comes from there. They tried to explain about how spaceships work, and this book actually takes you through some of the description about what they are. Now, we always, in our 3D reality, see things as solid, don't we? So, like solid wood. Let's grab a bit of plastic. Making it easy. Plastic bends, flexes, but to us, it's solid. Everything's solid, but it's not. Everything is energy. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, my body is moving and changing. Can't be seen in our eyes, our 3D reality. It's in a higher dimension this is happening. And I'm scaling and changing, and my cells are altering. And our celestial friends see us from that higher energy level. Now, to travel through space as we understand it in our 3D reality is very limited and primitive in our way of thinking. When they travel through the universe to different areas, there's different energy fields, there's collective energies where light beings are, there's galaxies full of energy, planets, all sorts of things, galaxies are continuously moving, expanding, everything is continuously changing. So they had to invent a starships that could change with fluctuation of everything around it. So I just got a bit from this book. I just highlighted it here. I'll just read it to you. The composition of our starship structure is designed to adapt and fluctuate in response to any energy shifts that may occur along our path. So that is their path travelling through the cosmos and the universe. Remarkably, this transformation takes place seamlessly, leaving all forms of life within the starship, and that means celestial beings from different places of existence, completely unaware of the profound changes happening around them. This is made possible by a specially engineered shielding system that safeguards them, all life forms, during this multi-calabotic state. So, in essence, the starship undergoes a it's a big word this, metamorphosis, I spell it, metamorphosis, allowing them to traverse the cosmos and with utmost protection and stability. This advanced technology ensures the preservation of life as we venture into the depths of the universe. Now, how can I name it? Material. I call this material of the spaceship is nothing like we have on Earth. It's almost the way they describe it as organic. It can appear as a metal to us. It can appear as glass to us. When they're actually in the spaceship, I call it a spaceship for easy understanding. When they're in this spaceship, they can touch the material of the spaceship. So they don't have built-in windows like we would perceive as we do in our space films. They can touch the organic, metallic creation they've made, whatever it is. I can't even explain it to you. And through mind, they can create a portal window that looks outside into the universe and things like that. This energy that creates this bubble or ship for them to maneuver through space is like a shielded energy substance that continuously protects and adapts to whatever it's in. And it's really highly advanced technology. It's nothing like we've can imagine. And then within this spaceship atmosphere, they can create what they simplify down, for my understanding and how I describe it when I teach, a unison space of existence. So you could have Pleiadians, you could have Arcturians, you could have a light being like my Salatorians. They could all travel together in this ship, but they would have different sources of survival atmospheres needed. Now the technology in this ship, with this continuously adapting energy that's traveling them through space, can create the atmospheres as they move they need through this, and they could all be in the same space together. Now that's pretty mind-blowing stuff. So if we went off to the Pleiadian planet, we'd have to probably have an oxygen mask on, but they're in such a highly physical state of being, or light source of being, and this technology as well, they all adapt. And they use their telepathic source as well to do this. So the telepathic mind of these beings is way advanced, and they use that to manipulate stuff around us as well, around them. And it's a natural way of their being. It's not, how can you can't even imagine it, can you? The nearest I've been to one of these ships is through what we call astral travel. I've got an Arcturian guide who's given his name to be his Teleka, and I think it's the nearest I can pronounce it to how it's said in their language. And he took me one night on my astral travelling experiences to a craft, and he said, this is a craft we travel on. So my ethereal essence of me, connected to the quantum trance creative intelligence source, stays tied to my body, but I go with the guide. So he sees me in my ethereal form and shows me this ship, but I'm still connected to my 3D body. And my memory of it comes back in my only understanding as a 3D mind, because my mind cannot cope with what he was showing me. So it was almost like I was placed on a balcony viewing curvatures of what I looked like black mesh, moving mesh energy through this ship. And within this ship, people, celestial beings, some of them of humanoid forms but more advanced, were existing and living, but I couldn't see them through my own reality, but I was seeing them in my ethereal reality. And then I remember everything looked see-through. It's like in my mind I was looking out into the universe, but I was within this environment which I've just described to you, which is in my book. And it was organically moving. Everything was moving and adjusting, and he was just trying to show me what I was writing about. So when I woke up the next morning, and I had this vivid recall, I knew I'd been there. It's like it was so real to you. I could only recall it in my 3D understanding. So when I tried to write down what I seen, what I read out to you is what came out of it. So they try to bring me the knowledge, the nearest they can in my human form to what they're trying to describe in my books. So that was an amazing experience. The other thing which I found quite interesting in my research, I did quite a lot of research on my books. My first book, Utopia, I have a section in it about UFOs, and I did some research, and I went back into the pre-Renaissance, where paintings were done of Jesus Christ on the cross, and there were paintings or tapestries, and they had UFOs up in the sky, part of the artwork. Now, when the Renaissance period came in and the religion started to change, this wasn't identifying with the God belief of these religions and wasn't being understood. So these images were removed from any religious places. Luckily, a couple survived, and I managed to get information about that. It's on the internet, and put that in my book so people could reference it and seek it themselves. There's also been, over history, recordings of like a space flight that went on. I think that was in Germany, and that was illustrated, and that was found somewhere. And there's all these little things. The other thing, of course, is drawings in caves, going back thousands and thousands of years. And the other thing is the insidious tribes of Earth up to modern day talk about space beings and celestial beings that came and helped them. Some saw them as gods, some just talk about where they came from, like the Pleiades, or they sometimes reference the North Star. And, you know, there's so much evidence on Earth of existence of UFOs. So I find it really hard when people say, oh, it's a load of shit, they don't exist. What are you afraid of? There's a gentleman, I read his book, and I think it was called The UFO of God. And he sees, I wouldn't say there were UFOs. I think my guides say what he's seeing is the celestial source presenting them in a form that he understands and can intelligently communicate with him. He sees it as the God energy. The God energy is actually the quantum domain creative intelligence of the universe. But I did read his book out of interest, and it wasn't a very interesting book. He came from a very religious background. And he even now is on Instagram filming these, and when he films them, he has people gathering with them, and this orb-like figure energy comes in and darts around and does all this in the sky. And also sometimes it's presented as a female in white. Now, my guides have said to me that is them presenting themselves in a human form so that the human can understand what they're seeing, because if they try to present themselves in a true form and you're not ready, you'll be frightened. And that wouldn't help the cause of celestials coming back to Earth, because they've walked on Earth for thousands of years. And before humanity really took hold, to be honest, as we know it, over 300,000 years, and back into the history. My New Earth book has all that in it for you if you wanted to read that. That's very interesting again, about the celestial beings and identifying who they were and everything. So, you know, UFOs are seen in different forms. Of course, we do have the space station up above Earth. They see lots of things. There's been rumours like when they supposedly landed on the moon, code words for they're watching us and stuff like this. There's all these type of rumours. Nothing's actually officially come out from the government, obviously, so they don't want to scare the shit out of us. But, you know, I know they're there. And, you know, there's pictures captured of them coming off out the sea. Well, the sea is an amazing source of celestial activity. If you think over 70% of our Earth is sea with massive deep sections, there is actually a celestial race that is existing in the sea. And we actually have I do something called Trance, and we talk to the celestial beings, and we actually have an advanced group I run. And the other night, a few weeks ago, we actually connected with one of these beings from this race in the sea. And we were like, wow, you know, it was pretty exciting stuff. And they said it was the first time they'd come through and talked in the trance state with someone, a human. And we thought that was pretty awesome. So they are communicating with us in different ways as well. And what we have to remember, we are a telepathic race. And the trance I do is to help with that and help advance us. So since I've been doing trance for 12 years, I've definitely become more attuned to higher energies, higher understanding and higher knowledge that they're giving me. And they only give it to you if you're ready to accept it and absorb it. And then I try to present it to the world through books where people can understand it. If you look back on all the Starship movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, any 1999, when they were going up in space in that series, I loved that series, it was amazing. And if you think about all of that, that has been channeled into the earth energy to help humanity understand that there is more out there. And it's just another way of showing us that. And these games that kids play is the same when they're celestial. It's another way, or adults as well, it's another way of putting into our brains and into our makeup that there is things that live off Earth and can come to Earth. Now, unfortunately, a lot of it is shown as them harming Earth. But what they don't realise is there's actually an intergalactic council that oversees our Earth with various celestial beings in, and they are the architects of how they work with us and how they're trying to help humanity. If you go onto my website, Quantum Trance Healing, I have a blog. That blog is full of loads of stuff to do with this. It'd be well worth having a look there if you fancy some more information. So UFOs exist. They exist in various forms, shapes, and they travel through solar systems, cosmos. They travel billions of miles, but not in massive time spans like we think. The universe is made up of energy portals, which has been mapped. It's like an energy highway through the universe, and these spaceships can follow these to travel to where they want to go. If they're going to new areas of space that have not been travelled before, it's almost like they need to get a ticket to do it, and then they create their path through it, and then that path can then be followed again by others, and they create this portal energy as they go. So that's how they describe that to me. They also have portals of energy all around Earth where they can come through and physically walk amongst humans. I have experienced this myself last year with identifying 3 of them. I won't say where it was, but it's near a wood, and I was on a road and I was catching a bus, and I walked up to the bus stop. I look up the road, there's nobody there. I look to the left, there's nobody there. It's a park. I stood there, and literally next thing I know, there's 3 people standing beside me, and I looked at them. And I knew straight away they weren't human, even though they appeared human. Their form of dress was all very similar. It was like brown, beige, almost a little bit dated. And there was 2 male and what appeared to be female. And they looked like they'd all come out of the same clothes shop. And then they got on the bus, and I was sitting there, and I kept trying not to look at them. And I just knew. And it stuck with me. And I've spoken to my guys, and they said yes. They were Palladian Autorians. They'd come to observe. And what happens is they don't take on the human form. They stay in their own form. But telepathically, they're so advanced that they put out like a holographic around them that all humans will see them in the chosen human form they've chosen to take on for that trip. They also have technology on them for the atmosphere and everything else, and which we can't see. It's there under the clothes, and they go off and do what they do. And I was like, oh my God, am I imagining all this? But this goes on, and I'm not fearful of it. I would actually love them to introduce themselves to me and talk to me. I think it'd be absolutely amazing. But this happens quite a lot all around the world. And it's the way they observe humanity to see how we're progressing. Science-wise, they can see the pollution. They can see how humans are behaving and where they need to change what we're doing and help us. I just wish they'd hurry up a bit, because I'm a little bit worried about what's going on in our world at the moment. But we have to let our path unfold, because we're on a new Earth energy line which came through after COVID, and which is the positive one, which will lead us to meeting celestials and traveling the universe. And we just need to let a lot of crap come up to the surface, Earth needs to reset itself from all the pollution, everything that's been going on, which actually won't be too good for humanity, but it will happen. And then everything will settle back down again, and humanity would hopefully learn the lesson and start to live in unity and change the way they live. So that is where, this is why they come and do this, walk amongst us. And yeah, I have been told that one day one of them will introduce themselves to me when I least expect it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that day. Wish it would happen soon. So that's my take on UFOs for you. I'm not fearful of them. I have no fear. People really want to bring the fear factor to everything on Earth. From my side of things, I know they're there. Sometimes I go out in the back garden, I put a thought up and I hear a voice back say, we're here. And they have a station up on the other side of Jupiter. And it's a unison space station where a lot of the galactics meet and gather. Because Earth is like a teaching post for them. And if you think about it, we have our guides who are celestial beings guiding every human on Earth as a guides, and we are used as an example for some teachings in the universe of a 3D planet trying to ascend, and how it and what was being put in place over the thousands of years haven't worked. So it's almost like people of the celestials are learning from us. Because remember, you're a celestial being as well. We are celestials. We're just on a lower level understanding of everything. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to slowly bring us up to a higher understanding. So this is why I've done this video. So I hope what I've said today helps you. My book on Utopia says a lot about evidence of UFOs, so that's worth a read. I've got the Journey Through Creation book, which I've used as an example for this video. And yeah, I don't know what else to say to you about UFOs. To me, they're signs of an amazing existence out there, which we could be part of. And I have no fear of them. I don't know, one landed in my back garden, I might be a little bit frightened to start with, but I don't see them as fearful. They do monitor us. I do know people have been taken and observed. The grey race that work with the Galactic Council are observers. They don't harm. And there has been cases of that. So again, with the science size, you need specimens to learn from, and that's why the celestials come and walk among us, because that's how they learn, by being among us and observing. And yeah, so again, you know, the governments know an awful lot about this. They monitor people like me, anybody who's doing trance, celestial work, anything like that. And we're living in a day and age now where we can put this, I can put this video out and it would be watched. There would have been a time when it wouldn't have been allowed. And there are countries which wouldn't allow this. So share it out, please, for me. Let's spread this message. And then it's just a different perspective on UFOs. So I shall leave that with you, and I hope you have the most amazing day. Take care, everyone. Bye.